Apple just ran its biggest week of the year. Siri finally got its AI brain transplant, and here is the twist. They borrowed it from Google. iOS 27 is screaming fast. Apple handed developers the keys to on-device AI, and Tim Cook stood on stage at WWDC for the very last time as CEO. This is a lot to unpack, and that is exactly what we are going to do. Welcome to a special segment of AI Made Practical, the weekly podcast where we take the most consequential stories in AI and technology and tell you what they actually mean for how you work, how you build, and how you compete. I am John, and this week we are going all in on Apple's Worldwide Developers Conference, WWDC 26. 5 stories, 5 angles, all the analysis you need. Let's go. Story 1. Siri finally got smart, and the way Apple pulled it off is arguably the most interesting strategic move they have made in a decade. Here is the headline. The new Siri AI is powered by a 1.2 trillion parameter Google Gemini model. Let that sink in for a second. Apple, the most privacy-obsessed company in Silicon Valley, partnered with Google, their fiercest competitor in the AI race, to rebuild the most personal assistant on the planet. That is not a small decision. That is an admission that Apple's own large language model wasn't ready, and a bet that getting the experience right matters more than who built the underlying model. So, what does the new Siri actually do differently? 3 things stand out. First, it is genuinely context aware. The old Siri was reactive. You asked, it answered, often badly. The new Siri understands what you are doing on screen in real time. It can read a text from your airline, extract your flight details, and add them to your calendar without you lifting a finger. That is actual personal assistance, not just a glorified search box. Second, it no longer hands off to ChatGPT by default. That was a stopgap Apple deployed last year. The new Siri handles complex queries itself, and the conversations are more natural, more follow through capable, and significantly less likely to give you a confusing non answer. Third, Siri AI gets a standalone app. This is more significant than it sounds. It means Apple is positioning Siri not just as a voice command layer baked into the OS, but as a destination, a primary interface. That is the same bet Google made with Gemini, the same bet Microsoft made with Copilot. The race to become the AI operating layer for everyday computing is fully on, and Apple just showed up to race. What does this mean practically? If you are a business that relies on Apple devices, your team's AI productivity layer just changed. The integration depth Siri now has across apps, calendars, messages, and documents means employees can offload genuine cognitive work to their devices. The question is whether enterprises trust it, and more specifically, whether the privacy story holds up. Apple's private cloud compute architecture is designed to keep sensitive queries from ever landing on a server unencrypted. That is a meaningful differentiator from Microsoft and Google's enterprise AI offerings, and it is going to matter enormously in regulated industries. The practical takeaway on Story 1. Siri AI is no longer a punchline. It is now a serious contender. If your organization has been waiting for Apple to catch up on AI before committing to Apple Intelligence features in your workflow, the wait is over. Story 2 is aimed squarely at builders, and it might be the announcement with the longest tail of consequences. Apple introduced the Foundation Models framework, and it is a big deal. Here is what it is: a native Swift API that gives developers a single, unified interface for accessing AI models, both on device and through Apple's private cloud compute. You can call on device models for fast, private, offline capable intelligence. You can call server models for heavier tasks that need more horsepower. And you can build custom skills, essentially plugins that extend what the models can do without retraining anything from scratch. The practical implication of this is enormous. Before WWDC 26, an iOS developer who wanted to add AI features had 2 choices: build a clunky integration to an external API like OpenAI or Anthropic, or try to run a tiny limited model locally using Apple's older Core ML tools. Neither was great. The external API route introduced latency, cost, privacy risk, and offline failure modes. The local model route was technically painful and capability constrained. Foundation models changes that calculus completely. Now you have a first class Apple native path to AI that is fast, private, and deeply integrated with the platform. The model runs on the neural engine, it respects the privacy architecture, and it talks to the rest of the OS natively. That is a developer experience leap. But here is the part that really caught my attention. If your app has fewer than 2 million total first time App Store downloads, you get access to Apple's server side foundation models running on private cloud compute at zero cloud API cost. Free. Apple is essentially subsidizing AI development for the long tail of the app ecosystem. That is a deliberate play to seed the next wave of AI native apps on the platform before the competition can establish a foothold. And then there is Xcode 27. The developer IDE now has agentic coding built in. Not a copilot, not autocomplete on steroids, an actual agent that can plan a feature, write the implementation, run it, verify the UI, check localization, analyze a crash, and fix the problem within a single connected workflow. GitHub and Figma plugins ship at launch. A new /plan command lets you scope the agent's work before it starts touching code, which is the kind of human in the loop control that makes agentic coding actually usable in production environments. Swift 6.4 also shipped, with URL parsing now up to 4 times faster and simplified syntax for multi platform development. The platform is maturing, and Apple is making sure its developer ecosystem has the tools to build genuinely AI native experiences, not just apps that bolt on a chat window. Practical takeaway on Story 2. If you are building on Apple platforms, foundation models, and Xcode 27, just change your development roadmap. The cost and complexity of adding AI to your app dropped significantly this week. That matters for product teams, it matters for CTOs, and it matters for anyone evaluating build versus buy decisions on AI features. Story 3 is about the software that runs on a billion plus devices, and Apple made a statement this week. Speed is still a feature. iOS 27 is fast. Apps launch up to 30% faster. Photo previews load up to 70% faster in the Photos app. AirDrop speeds are improved. On iPadOS, file transfers are up to 5 times quicker. These are not incremental numbers. For a platform this mature, shipping 30% faster app launches is a meaningful engineering achievement. And the device compatibility story is better than expected. iOS 27 runs on every device that could run iOS 26, which means iPhone 11 and up. Apple is not forcing an upgrade cycle here. That is good for users, and honestly, it is good for the platform story as AI features reach a wider installed base. On the Mac side, macOS 27, codenamed Golden Gate, makes a decisive cut. Intel Macs are no longer supported. This was coming. Apple Silicon has been the platform's future since 2020, and the migration is essentially complete. If you are running an Intel Mac in a corporate environment, you are now officially on borrowed time from a software update perspective. That is a procurement planning signal, not a crisis, but it is one that IT leaders need to put on the roadmap now. Golden Gate also refines the liquid glass design that shipped last year. The aesthetic overhaul Apple did with iOS 26 was polarizing. Some loved the translucent layered look, some found it disorienting. This year, Apple added an opacity slider, giving users direct control over how much glass versus solid they want in their UI. That is a small thing, but it signals something important. Apple is listening to feedback on design in a way that does not always show up in public. When you have a billion users, even a 1% complaint rate is 10 million people. The opacity slider is Apple acknowledging that liquid glass needed tuning. There is also a new reframe tool in the iOS 27 Photos app that lets you completely shift the perspective of a photo after you have taken it. Computational photography has been chipping away at the limitations of hardware optics for years. Reframe is another step in that direction, and for anyone who has ever taken a great shot at the wrong angle, it is immediately useful. Practical takeaway on Story 3. If you manage a fleet of Apple devices, iOS 27 is a strong upgrade with real performance gains and no device compatibility surprises. Plan for the Intel Mac transition now rather than later. And if you have been frustrated by liquid glass, the opacity slider is coming. Story 4 is not about AI, it is about families, and it is one of the most substantive things Apple announced this week. Apple overhauled its parental controls from the ground up. The centerpiece is a new child account system. Parents can set up a child account for any young user under 13, and it becomes mandatory for that age group. For users under 18, parents can keep the child account active until they decide otherwise. The account gives parents a single control panel for everything: which apps the child can access, which contacts they can call or message, which websites they can visit, how much screen time they get, and what content filters are active. The specific features Apple shipped are thoughtful. Ask to browse lets kids request permission to visit a new website, and parents approve or deny from their own device. Time allowances let parents set daily or weekly limits per app category. Communication safety, which has been expanding for a couple of years now, extends to block gore and violent content in shared images and videos, not just sexually explicit material. But here is the piece that I think has the biggest long term impact, and it is the one that got the least coverage in the mainstream press. Apple gave developers a safety API. This lets apps automatically detect whether a user has a child account and adjust the experience accordingly without the parent having to configure every single app individually. That is infrastructure for a safer internet, not just a better settings menu. Think about what that means. Right now, when you install an app on your kid's device, you have no guarantee that it will behave any differently than it would on your own phone, unless the app maker specifically built parental controls into their product. With the safety API, the platform signals to the app: this user is a child, adjust accordingly. Apple is pushing the responsibility upstream to developers and giving them the tools to do it. There is also encrypted end-to-end RCS messaging now in beta on iOS. That is a privacy upgrade that benefits everyone, but it matters especially in a world where child safety and messaging privacy are increasingly the same conversation. Practical takeaway on Story 4. If you are a parent with kids on Apple devices, this update materially improves your ability to manage their digital environment without having to become a technology expert. If you are building consumer apps, the Safety API is now part of your compliance and responsibility surface. Build for it. Story 5 is the one nobody at Apple scripted, but everyone was thinking about. This was Tim Cook's last WWDC as CEO of Apple. Cook announced earlier this year that he will step down on September 1st and hand the reins to John Ternus, Apple's current Senior Vice President of Hardware Engineering. Ternus was not featured in the WWDC keynote, which is a deliberate choice. You do not introduce the next CEO at a developer conference. You do it on your terms, on your timeline. But his shadow was present in every slide. Because here is the question the whole industry is sitting with: what does a hardware first CEO mean for Apple's AI ambitions? Tim Cook built Apple into the most valuable company in history through two things: supply chain mastery and the premium consumer experience. He did not make the big product bets. Steve Jobs left him a roadmap that included iPhone, iPad, and the App Store engine, and Cook executed it with extraordinary discipline. The Apple Watch was a genuine Cook era bet, and it worked. But Cook himself is not a product visionary in the Jobs mold. John Ternus is different. He is an engineer's engineer. He oversaw the Apple Silicon transition, which is arguably the most consequential platform move Apple has made in 20 years. He led the teams that shipped the M series chips, the hardware that makes private cloud compute, foundation models, and the entire on device AI story possible. If you want to understand why Apple's AI strategy is built around the silicon first, look at who is about to run the company. The risk and the opportunity are the same thing. Turnus will be deeply credible with developers and with the engineering organization. But Apple's AI story right now is one of catching up, not leading. The Siri AI moment this week was impressive, but it took borrowing Google's model to get there. The foundation models framework is excellent, but OpenAI has been running developer AI programs for years. Turnus inherits a platform with extraordinary hardware advantages and an AI narrative that still needs a chapter 2. What I will be watching in his first year: does Apple build more of its own model capabilities, or does the Gemini partnership become a permanent feature of the intelligence stack? Does the developer ecosystem move fast enough on foundation models to create genuinely sticky AI experiences that lock users into Apple the way the App Store did in 2008? And does a hardware CEO push Apple toward owning more of the silicon stack for AI, including custom data center chips, the way Google and Amazon have done? These are not rhetorical questions. The answers will determine whether Apple is a platform that leads the AI era or one that executes it very well on someone else's model. Practical takeaway on Story 5. Apple's platform is in strong hands from an engineering and hardware perspective. The AI ambition is real, the architecture is credible, and the silicon advantage is genuine. But the leadership transition moment is also a moment of strategic openness, and the choices Ternus makes in his first 18 months will set Apple's AI trajectory for the next decade. Watch this space. 5 stories from WWDC 26. Let me bring them together. The theme of this week, if I had to put it in 3 words, is Apple gets serious. Siri went from an industry joke to a genuine contender, powered by the audacious move of partnering with Google. Developers got a first class, cost effective, privacy preserving path to building AI native apps on the world's most valuable consumer platform. iOS 27 delivered the kind of performance gains that remind you there is still compounding value in building on a tightly integrated hardware software stack. Parental controls finally became infrastructure, not just a settings menu. And the CEO transition signals that the person who built the hardware advantage that makes all of this possible is now the one who gets to decide how far Apple can take it. Here is my honest read. WWDC 26 was Apple's best developer conference in years, and it came at the right time. They were under real pressure. The AI narrative had been running ahead of the product for 18 months. Promised Siri features were delayed. Apple Intelligence was generating skepticism. This week was the delivery. Not complete, not without rough edges, but real, and in some cases, genuinely impressive. The Gemini partnership is the question mark that hangs over all of it. Apple has traded short term capability for potential long term dependency. That is a reasonable trade if it buys them time to build their own models. It is a risky one if it does not. But the foundation models framework tells me Apple understands the stakes. They are not just deploying AI, they are building the developer ecosystem that will make AI sticky on their platform. That is the App Store play, restaged for the intelligence era. And if there is one thing Apple has proven over the past 20 years, it is that they know how to build an ecosystem that developers and users do not want to leave. That is a wrap on this special WWDC 26 segment of AI Made Practical. If this was useful, share it with someone trying to make sense of what Apple just announced. Subscribe wherever you listen so you never miss an episode. And if you have thoughts, reactions, or a story you think we should cover, reach out. This show is a conversation, not a broadcast. I will be back next week with 5 more stories from the broader AI world. Until then, stay sharp, stay curious, and keep making AI practical.